of Miss Ryder, if I may make another offer of proof.
Sure.
Sam Fisher is commanding Miss Ryder to meet Sam at the marina at 2 p.m. tomorrow, and the response from Miss Ryder is going to be that she will, in fact, meet Sam Fisher at the marina tomorrow at 2 p.m.
Wait, that's her verbal response, or that's what she goes on to do?
That's what she goes on to plan to do.
Response.
Yes, Your Honor. They are using these statements for the truth of the matter asserted, and it's therefore inadmissible in court today.
Response, Your Honor?
Yeah.
Sam telling Miss Ryder to go to the marina at 2 p.m. the next day is a command, and therefore there's no truth value to a command, Your Honor, and therefore it's outside of hearsay.
That's absolutely not how it works. Yeah, only because, you know, we kind of need this thing to functionally go on. I'm going to overrule your objection. If you have any concerns, I will instruct the jury that it is not for the truth of the matter, only for the subsequent action or non-action or maybe action of the witness. Please continue.
Yes, Your Honor. So what did Sam say to you?
He told me that I had until 4 p.m. the next day to meet him at the marina, and that my daughter could run, but she couldn't hide forever. I tried stalling him for a little bit, talking to him to let Parker get some space and try and run faster, but I initially agreed with him and I told him I would meet him there. I would do anything to protect Parker, and if it meant that I had to go back into the drug business, I would do it.
Did you go searching for Parker?
After I was sure that Sam was gone, I sprinted up to the Lacrone Overlook, and when I got there, I didn't see her. So I started looking around the trail, and then I checked all the other trails, and then I checked the campsites, but I couldn't find her anywhere.
At any point, did you call the police?
I couldn't get service on my phone still at the camps, so I tried using the emergency phone, but it wasn't working. So I remembered that I had been at a cafe earlier that day, and they had Wi-Fi, so I ended up driving there, and I submitted an anonymous tip to the police just because I didn't know who Sam had working for him. I couldn't trust anybody, and if they saw me calling, who knows what would have happened to Parker.
Did you ever go back to your campsite?
Yes, after I submitted the anonymous tip, I went back there and I waited for Parker. I thought that maybe she would come back and I could wait for her, but I think I closed my eyes for maybe 15 minutes before the Detective Chesney woke me up.
What did Detective Chesney do?
Well, he came in yelling, asking about Parker, so I figured that they were there to respond to the anonymous tip, and I wanted to help them, but within 10 minutes they had me in handcuffs.
How did you find out that Parker passed away?
I was in the back of the cop car on my way to the station, and I kept asking the police if they knew anything, but they weren't answering me. And I heard over the radio from Detective Chesney that they had found a girl's body at the bottom of the little overlook, and she was wearing a women's soccer jersey.
Why are you so confident to testify about Sam Fisher in court today?
Well, as most people in Midlands know, Sam's business got busted up. Someone ratted him out, and I don't know who it was, but he's going to spend the rest of his life in jail. And Parker's dead, and, you know, I didn't really think there was much worth living for, but I didn't think I was ready to die yet.
Thank you, Ms. Ryder. At this time, I have no further questions. Approaching Ms. Ryder and tendering exhibits to the bench.
Yes. Thank you.
You have a history of using violence against family members, correct?
I wouldn't say that necessarily. I had some arguments with my brother Corbin, and he was drunk and high, so I had to protect my daughter, but no, I don't think I would have a history of using that.
Right, but Ms. Ryder, you were first arrested in 2008.
Yes, that was just a misunderstanding at a bar. Corbin was drunk, I was also pretty intoxicated, and it just got blown out of proportion, really.
Thank you for that story, Ms. Ryder, but that is a yes to my question. You were arrested in 2008 for this disagreement with your brother.
Yes, I was.
You were then arrested again in 2010.
Yes, I pled guilty to that charge. I ended up accidentally shoving Corbin into a wall, and he got a little bit injured, but yet again, he was drunk and high, and he was near my daughter, and I didn't want her to get hurt from that.
Right, you were arrested for shoving your brother, Mr. Dallas.
Yes, I was trying to get him out of Parker's space. She was asleep in the next room, and I really didn't want her to see him like that. He was her uncle, but she shouldn't have seen him like that.
When you pled guilty to this domestic violence charge, it was then that you were sentenced to anger management treatment.
Yes, I worked with Mr. Kai Washington. He has a lot of great knowledge.
Right, and you were in court today when Mr. Washington testified, correct?
Yes.
You heard him give his opinion that you had a high likelihood of reacting violently when being provoked or agitated by family members.
Yes, but I never had issues with my daughter. It was really just Corbin and I. We butt heads. We always have since we were kids.
But Ms. Ryder, that is yes to my question. You did hear Mr. Washington give his opinion in court today that you had a high likelihood of reacting violently when being provoked or agitated by family members.
Yes, but not Parker. Parker was my everything.
Well, Ms. Ryder, the day Parker died, you were very angry with her.
I wouldn't say I was very angry with her. I would say I would be upset with her, but I don't think I was angry.
Well,
No.
let's talk about some of the reasons why you were so upset with her. Ms. Ryder, do you still have a copy of what has been marked as Exhibit 27?
I don't.
Permission to approach the witness with what has been already entered as Exhibit 27.
You may.
Thank you.
Your Honor, would you like a courtesy copy?
Sure.
Ms. Ryder, the very last text Parker sent reads, "Jordan is angry right now because I said I love Corbin more." Did I read that correctly?
Yes. I wasn't angry. I was sad. I was disappointed in myself more than anything, though. I wish that I could have been there for her more. I wish that she didn't have to rely on Corbin as much emotionally.
Well, Ms. Ryder, Parker also screamed at you.
Yes.
Parker called you stupid.
She did.
Parker told you she hated you.
She did, but
Parker told you she-
Objection, Your Honor. I ask that my witness be allowed to add.
Yeah, absolutely. Please let the witness finish her statement.
Parker told you she hated you.
She did, but I wasn't the best mother, you know? I wasn't there in her life. I couldn't blame her for that. I really just, I think that overall I was more upset with myself than anything, but I was upset with her as well. But that's why I suggested that we take a moment of silence and just work things out. That's something that Mr. Washington taught me. He said that when I'm in a situation where
Ms.
I'm
Ryder,
stressed.
redirecting you back to my question, Parker told you she hated you.
Yes, she did.
Parker told you she hated you for coming back into her life.
She did, but yet again, when I was a teenager, I said some things like that too, but I never actually meant it.
Ms. Ryder, this made you so angry that you ripped the hiking staff out of Parker's hands.
I didn't rip it out for that reason. There are a lot of reasons. She was messing around with it, and I didn't want her to hit herself again. I didn't want her to injure herself.
So, Ms. Ryder, that is a yes to my question. You ripped the hiking staff out of Parker's hands.
I did take the hiking staff from her, yes.
And you turned and raised it in the air at Parker.
I wouldn't say that I did. I was holding it while I was speaking to her, but
You struck her in the shoulder with this hiking staff.
no. I would have never touched my daughter, would have never laid a hand on my daughter, actually.
You pushed Parker over the edge of a 40-foot cliff.
I never would have hurt my daughter. No. She
Well-
was the light of my life, and I think a mother's love is stronger than anything in this planet.
Ms. Ryder, after you pushed Parker, you had to figure out how to get away with it. Let's talk about some of the plans that you wrote down. You would recognize a napkin that was found in your pocket the morning you were arrested.
I would.
I'm showing opposing counsel what has been marked as Exhibit 26. Permission to approach the witness with the
You
same,
may.
and a courtesy copy for your honor.
Sure.
Ms. Ryder, this is a copy of the napkin found in your pocket the morning you were arrested.
It is.
Has it been altered or changed in any way?
No, it doesn't appear to be.
Your Honor, I am setting up a demonstrative of a large exhibit of Exhibit 26. Ryder, let's talk about this first column on the left side. This column is titled 911.
Yes, I was writing that down when I was gonna make my anonymous tip to the police.
Right. Under this, you wrote, "I'm so sorry this happened."
Yes, I was just so sorry that Sam showed up. I'm so sorry that I got involved in this.
You wrote, "It was all my fault."
If I never would have been involved with Sam, maybe none of this would ever happen.
You wrote, "I was just so angry."
I was just so angry with myself. I was
You
just
wrote-
so angry.
Objection, Your Honor. Again, I ask that my witness be allowed to explain and finish answering the question before opposing counsel asks another.
Yeah, I mean, Counselor, I mean, on some of the answers, when she is far, far afield of what you asked, I understand where you're coming from, but you're jumping the gun a little bit.
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Ryder, you wrote, "I didn't mean to do it."
I didn't mean to do anything and get involved with Sam Fisher. No.
Now let's talk about this list of items in the middle of the napkin.
Yeah.
You wrote phone, stick, knife, and shovel.
Yeah, so money was pretty tight, and I didn't really have a lot of cash on me, and I didn't feel safe using my card yet. So I was planning on selling those things back to Barry's Bait, the stick, the knife, and the shovel, and if I really needed to, I was gonna sell my cell phone as well.
Right. So next to stick, knife, and shovel, you wrote keep.
Yes, I just was questioning if I was gonna keep it or whether I was gonna sell it back.
And next to the word phone, you wrote a check mark.
Yeah, I was planning on selling the phone just because I needed to get a new number so Sam couldn't track me.
Ms. Ryder, you're aware that the only item out of this list that was not found in your tent or on your campground or your campsite was Parker Page's phone.
Yes, but that's not writing about Parker's phone, that's writing about my phone.
That's a yes to my question. You're aware that out of all these items, Parker's phone was not found at your campsite.
Yes, I'm not sure where Parker.
And Ms. Ryder, you're aware that Parker's phone was found at a restaurant over 30 minutes away from Calkins Campground.
I haven't heard anything about that in court today, no, but.
Ms. Ryder, you are aware of the police investigation.
Yes.
And you are aware that Parker's phone was found at a restaurant over 30 minutes away from Calkins Campground.
I might have heard that, yeah, in the police investigation.
Well, after you had to, now you had to plan your escape, Ms. Ryder. Let's talk about some of
Objection,
these.
Your Honor. The attorney is testifying.
Yeah, absolutely, that's stricken. Please stick to questions.
Ms. Ryder, let's talk about some of these items at the top of this napkin. You wrote boat.
Yeah, this was when I was figuring out when I had to meet Sam and where I had to go, so I didn't know if I was meeting him at his boat or whether I was gonna meet at the Marina Safe House.
You wrote marina and supplies.
Yes, the supplies and Barry's Bait, that was just me trying to figure out when Barry's open so I could go resell the supplies.
And underneath this, you wrote look up non-extradition spots.
I'm not gonna lie, I was a felon and I was trying to figure out where Parker and I could go when I got her back so they couldn't send me back to the States. I figured that if I went to a non-extradition spot, it would be one of the only spots I could be safe with Parker.
Well, Ms. Ryder, you would also need money for your escape.
No, I had enough in some bank accounts on my card, but I would have to go to the bank to go that.
Well, Ms. Ryder, on this napkin, you wrote 10K now.
Yes, that's from earlier in the morning. I was trying to figure out Parker's insurance and what I had to do before we left, just to get everything in order.
Right, so Parker's life insurance was set at $10,000, correct?
Yeah, when Terry and I initially bought that, you know, I was 17. I didn't have a lot of money, so I couldn't really afford anything that was better.
Ms. Ryder, you also wrote 50K, 75K, 100K, and 200K on this napkin.
Yes, I had another napkin that I was using. I was doing some math.
Ms. Ryder, I'm talking about just this napkin specifically. On this napkin, you wrote 50K, 75K, 100K, and 200K.
Yes, the reason I have them listed though is I was doing the math to see what it would cost me per month to change the policy so I could get a nicer policy.
Right, Ms. Ryder, you circled 200K.
Yes, that's the policy that I decided I could afford to take out.
You filed for an increase in Parker's life insurance policy.
I did.
Would
yes.
you recognize this life insurance policy if I showed it to you today?
I would.
I'm showing the opposing counsel what is marked as Exhibit 25. Permission to approach the witness with the same.
Okay?
Thank you.
Courtesy copy for your honor.
Thank you.
Ms. Ryder, am I correct in saying that this life insurance policy increases Parker's life insurance from $10,000 to $200,000.
Objection, Your Honor, as to misleading the jury, may I explain?
Please.
Now, this life insurance policy, it was submitted at 3:12 in the morning. It's in the state's contention today that Parker died between 4 o'clock p.m. and 6 o'clock p.m. This happened hours after Parker's time of death for either side. And if that's the case, this cannot be any kind of potential motive. And this is just misleading the jury to assume that Ms. Ryder was filling this out for any kind of money.
May I respond, Your
Yeah.
Honor? This life insurance policy began at 10:42 a.m. July 14, 2018, hours before Parker Page was died. Therefore, everything on this document is highly relevant and important to the fact of the case today.
Respond.
I stand by my argument, Your Honor. It was
Then you can sit down.
all right.
Overruled.
Ms. Ryder, am I correct in saying that this life insurance policy increases Parker's life insurance from $10,000 to $200,000?
Yes, it was actually only $10 more a month for me to do this plan.
Ms. Ryder, I just need a yes to my question, a yes or a no to my question. This life insurance policy increases Parker's life insurance from $10,000 to $200,000.
Yes, it does.
And just to be clear, $200K is the same amount that you circled on this napkin.
Yes, that's what I could afford to do with the monthly payments.
Now, Ms. Ryder, I would also like you to direct your attention to the submission time of this document. This document was submitted at 3:12 a.m. July 15, 2018.
Yes, I had started it and I actually had finished it at around 10:42, which is when we were at the cafe earlier that morning. I must have closed out the app before we left, and
Thank you,
I guess
Mrs.
it
Ryder,
never
but
submitted.
3:12 a.m. is 9 hours after your daughter's death, correct?
Yes,
Ms. Ryder, you remember giving an interrogation. You remember being interrogated by Detective Chesney, correct?
I do.
Permission to approach the witness with what has been marked as Exhibit 1.
Yes.
And Ms. Ryder, when you were giving this interrogation, you were asked to be 100% truthful.
Yes.
And you were aware that you were being interrogated about your daughter's potential homicide.
I actually thought I was being interrogated because I was arrested for a parole violation. And Detective Chesney told me that he just wanted to talk and understand what happened that weekend.
Well, Ms. Ryder, on direct examination, you stated that you found out about Parker's death once you had gotten into the parole car.
Yes.
And you were interrogated after you had gotten into the parole car.
Yes.
So you knew that your daughter had died and there was a possibility she had been murdered.
I did know that, yeah.
Ms. Ryder, just to clarify, you were aware that when you were being interrogated, you were supposed to give all relevant information.
Yes, but also he told me that I could stop it at any time, so.
Ms. Ryder, can you show me anywhere in your interrogation that you mentioned the name Sam Fisher?
No, and like I said, I didn't know where Sam was. I didn't know if he was gonna come after me still, and I had Corbin too, and I didn't want him to go after Corbin. He wasn't much of a brother, but he was still family.
So, Ms. Ryder, that is a no to my question. Nowhere in your interrogation do you mention the name Sam Fisher.
No, I didn't have time to talk about it either, and Detective Chesney never asked me to talk about that, so.
Thank you. No further questions, Your Honor. May I approach and retrieve?
You may. Any redirect?
Briefly, Your Honor. Ms. Ryder, how much more a month was it to increase the policy from $10,000 to $200,000?
It was only $10, and, you know, when I was 17, I couldn't afford that, but I had enough money saved up in my bank accounts and my savings accounts that I could swing it now, so.
How many times on the napkin, or how many names are written on the napkin?
I only wrote Sam's name on there.
And how many times did Detective Chesney ask you about Sam's name?
Detective Chesney never asked me about Sam, once.
Thank you. At this time, I have no further questions.
Should that generate a recross?
No recross, Your Honor.
Anything else from the defense?
No, Your Honor. With that, the defense rests our case in chief, and we ask for a brief 5 to 10 minute recess.
Yeah, I mean, depends on when the pizza gets here, but 5 times.
Pizza be here in 10 minutes. Okay.
They'll be here in 10 minutes.
Another
Point of
time.
order, can we eat pizza during? I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I just want to send that into the demo. Did you watch it?